Hello, everybody, and welcome to coverage of the quarterfinals of the 2021 Premodern Fall Brawl. I'm Michael Hoyp. I'm joined today by Brian Kowal. Say hi, BK.
Hello,
And
happy to be here.
yeah, so we're covering the match between Nils and Delphin on Blue White Standstill and then Flint Espil on the TerraPonza deck. So I have the Landstill deck up for our viewers to see. So the Blue White Landstill is a key player in the metagame for pre-modern. It's seen a lot as a powerful, consistent deck. What Niels has done is the difference, I guess, is there's a lot of different one-ofs. The counter magic, I guess there's one of a disrupt, one of a force spike, one of a prohibit, one of a mana leak. There's one of an annul. So there's a lot of variety in terms of the counter magic. I guess the theory, I would guess, is the games go long and you're able to find the right spot for those counter spells to take advantage of them. I guess I'm not sure. We'll have to ask Niels
Yeah,
after it. But was your take on this?
I mean, the more card drawing you have, the more one-ofs are a great thing to have in your deck because you're going to see more of your deck. So you might see that key card that solves that problem for you in a situation.
Yep.
But also just having like a bunch of weird counter spells, it makes it really hard for the opponent to really play around your counters. They know you just have like four counters for mana leak. That's easier to play against than like a disrupt, a force spike. I didn't know.
Yeah, and I don't even know
So,
if like having the deck list be open if that makes it better or worse for Flint, knowing that there's just like 7 different counter spells he needs to play around.
yeah, what do? You just
Yeah.
like you
So,
actually might start just like outthinking yourself.
yeah. So pretty interesting. It'll be interesting to see how if any of the gameplay is different for the Lancel deck from this version as compared to
Yeah.
ones we've seen in the past. But I'll bring
But
up. Oh, go
yeah,
ahead.
maybe you mess it up enough that like you just stop playing around anything, right?
No,
That's not what you want either.
I have noticed that I have an error. Flint is not playing Snow Covered Island; he's playing Snow Covered Forest. But so I do have the deck image is not correct here. But so
Forced.
the Terra Ponza deck, the way that this deck started is. Historically, Flint has always been up for a challenge where when he plays in the Spring Fling or Fall Brawl, I give him either a deck or a card to build around. And the challenge this tournament, I told him was Terravor. So naturally, he built a deck with 2 Terravor. But the shell that he found was a Ponza deck. So there's some land destruction spells, which should be very fitting for you, BK. Are you like the sole? Are you the? I mean, you're known for Ponza. Are you the sole
I think
creator of Ponza?
I mean, I don't think any deck is solely created by
Okay.
one person. I like to go out inspiration from like like a Jamie Wakefield big red deck that he made. Um, Even going with the 2662 land spell base,
Perfect mana
which was very
distribution.
popular back then.
So, what do you think of this mono green land destruction deck?
It is a land destruction deck. I'm
Yeah,
not, I'm not that big a fan of like pure LD. I think it has a few weaknesses in any format. Like your opponent drawing a lot of cards can be really bad for you,
yeah. Or being
because
on a fast combo deck, or like playing a Goblin Lackey early enough. This seems like a lot of things can go wrong for Flint's deck, and so
he's got a lot of nice big threats though.
yep.
He's got like 10 big dudes, 2 Terravors, 4 Blasted Arm, 4 Ravenous Baloth, so
And,
he's ready to play there. He's got some manlands.
yeah, and I would expect them to come down quickly. Like there's 4 Findhorn Elves, 2 Llanowar Elves, 4 Wild Growths, and 3 Wall of Roots. So the 4 drop that of Blastoderm and Ravenous Baloth definitely will come down on turn 3 very often. So,
For sure.
all right. Is
What
there
do you
anything
think
you
of
want
it?
to predict, I guess, in this match before we start, or should we just jump into things?
Um, I think the Landstill deck has some advantage in this
Okay.
matchup, but I think anything can happen with LD, right?
Yeah, I mean, things definitely can go poorly. That like if you keep like
Mhm.
a 3 lander and Flint resolves a couple LT spells, and then the game could just be
Yeah.
done. So
The nice thing about LD is you're kind of a mid-range deck that can still get the same advantage that like a Sly deck or Red deck Win deck can
you
get, where like just
the,
the stumbling draw of your opponent can
sure
like work against them.
you get like those kind of free wins. Yeah.
Hmm.
All right. Well, I'll jump down to the match. If you want to let the players know that we can begin, for our viewers out there, we are playing a best of 3. That's what the players have agreed on. So the first game will be without sideboard, and then the second and or third, or well, second and up to the the third will be played with sideboards. So Nils is the higher seed here, so he gets to elect to play or draw. And I will bring up my card fetcher. Some of, I guess there might be like a number of cards that maybe people aren't familiar with all the one-ofs from Nils, and then just some of the cards, like, is it Thermokarst? Is that what it's called?
Thermokarst, yeah. No fallow earths in this one, but
So,
Winter's Grasp.
Winter's Grasp, yeah.
Yeah, Creeping Mold.
It's kind of funny that I think the islands that Nils is playing are Ice Age lands, so they look like they were snow lands. So, but they are not. So Thermokarst almost got a little bit of bonus, but I don't think that will come into play. Yeah, and it's funny that Flint is playing Snow Covered Forest, so clearly he was not expecting to play the mirror, because Snow Covered Forest is just worse than Forest against.
Yeah, he's just going to get punished for a life point to his opponent every time. His opponent could gain like up to three or four life per game.
All right, so Flint has a Rishan Import. I guess that was one of the elements. Is we did talk about the LD plan, but the Rishan Import and Wastelands are obviously a complement to that strategy.
Yeah, his lands do a lot of work. If you look at his list, he's got 4 Rishan Import, 4 Wasteland, and 4 Mishra's Factory, I believe, right?
Yes. Yeah, so there's a lot of colorless lands. I wonder if Nils can ever take advantage of that, because Flint might have to rely on like a Wall of Roots or a Llanowar Elf for like a second green mana. I wonder if Flint will ever get punished because of that. Looks like Impulse was cast. Yep. Nils is just trying to smooth out his draw.
Flint's tapping him down on his upkeep. I was kind of hoping you would tap the plains in case he drew a Wasteland. And, I don't know.
Okay, so Flint is going for a Wall of Roots here. I don't think you ever really use the counter magic on the card like that, right?
On a Wall of Roots?
Yeah.
Probably not. Yeah.
And then Flint will also add a Llanowar Elf.
It's a good Wall of Roots turn for him. He gets the Wall of Roots down, plays the Elf off of it, and then he can still tap something down with the Rishan Port on.
Yeah, that's very efficient.
Opponent's turn.
Yep.
Wall of Roots is one of my favorite Magic cards.
Yeah, I associate it with like Survival of the Fittest, because that's usually where the efficiency that I'm used to it having. But yeah, it's cool when you get to use it on multiple turns.
Yeah, in Survival, it's like 4 Soul Rings in your deck.
I guess like in Modern, it was really good in like with Quarter Calling, that you could it adds like 2 mana in that instance.
Counter Magic isn't the best against all these Rishan Ports and Wastelands and LD though. If you he can likely set up a lot of turns where he can't be countered.
Sure, if like Flint kind of takes every other turn off of like tapping a land and then casting a threat. Though as long as Nils is hitting his land drops, then that plan becomes more difficult. Right. Because Flint obviously has to spend 2 mana to tap 1 land for Nils. And so this is...
yeah, as the game goes on.
Is this a Winter's Grasp? Or...
It is. It's killing the plains.
I do not remember what set this is from.
It's originally from Tempest.
Tempest? Okay. Okay.
I'm good at this game. Give me another one. I'm ready.
It's funny because I just typed up the deck list right before this, and I had to pick the set it was from, and I still couldn't remember. All right, so the Winter's Grasp resolves, and there's a Wasteland activation, so 2 lands are down for Nils.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like a turning point of whether he's able to hit another land drop. Because if he doesn't, then I guess some alarms go off that that he
Yeah,
might be in trouble.
he's gotten out in front and gotten a mana advantage. And like he could easily like resolve a Blastoderm or something and like port his opponent down in time to like kill him, you know.
Okay, so Nils plays a preemptive Seal Cleansing. Are there any targets like in Flint's deck that he wants that get down? Like, I mean, I guess maybe he doesn't have counter magic, but or he just thinks that I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
The Seal Cleansing.
Maybe he just doesn't have much else to do.
Yeah.
He has Sylvan Libraries in his deck.
Okay, and an activation of a Mishra's Factory, I guess, would be the other thing. But I guess the thing is, to me, it just it sends the message that he doesn't have counter magic, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if he can just keep him off standstills and factor fictions, I think he's in time to kill him. I think that's the key.
Let me update my life total. It looks like Nils, I guess, I don't know if it was a fetch land or a land or attack, but Nils is at 19. So.
There's so somebody asked if there's stuff that puts lands on top of the deck. They mentioned Temporal Spring. There's also Fallow Earth, which was a mono green deck from Mirage, mono green card from Mirage that did that.
Yeah, it's like a Stone Rain, but just goes on top, right? Yeah, there it is. I brought it up.
Stunted Growth.
I always think, oh yes,
Fall Under.
People were just talking about Stunted Growth and
Stunted Growth is like that's one card that I see in a lot of green decks like this that I always think is kind of bad that people play in them. Like every time I ever see anybody play Stunted Growth, they always seem to regret it.
Well, I don't think it goes. I wouldn't put it in a land destruction deck because your opponent's going to have cards in their hand, and like the games usually go kind of longer. I would want it in a more aggressive deck that it's like an option of you kind of go to the board and then them putting 3 cards back is just too much for them to do. But there's not that many decks that like your deck has to be aggressive and then also be able to cast a 5-drop. So there's not many decks that it fits in, but.
Yeah, the idea is you kill a bunch of their lands and then you put 3 of their cards on top of their deck and then they can't draw any more lands, I think. But that's usually not how it plays out.
All right.
My experience.
So got another Winter's Grasp.
Yep, he is grasping for everything he can.
So he's going after the colored mana. Well, Nils has some built-in protection with the Flooded Strand. You can't LD that one.
Literally colding his opponent's lands.
But the problem here, like Flint, he hasn't played a threat. So I mean, like this game would be very different if something like a Blastoderm or a Ravenous Bailout had been in play for all these turns. We do see him attempting to cast the Blastoderm, but
yeah, here he is, big Blasty.
Right. Well, it's in play, so that's. I mean, it's not for sure 15 points of damage, but it's definitely costly if Nils wants to block this. Like, losing a land is not ideal against the LD deck.
Right. Big nasty Blasty.
Though Nils has not missed a land drop, is that correct? He's been able to play one every turn?
I don't think he has.
Okay.
They just keep coming.
Well, I'm sure. I mean, I don't know if his opening hand, like that's one thing you think about. Like you're a lot less likely to keep like a 2-lander against this type of deck. So,
but you're also more likely to keep a 5-lander against it, you know, or 5 or 6-lander. You know, that knowing you're gonna get LD'd is
so
helps a lot.
Flint does not attack with either the elves, and because he does have the Rishadan Port that if Nils tried to like activate the Mishra's Factory, he could just tap it. Do you think? Because that would at some point, because he's at 14. If he goes for 7 and 7, then that's a whole turn off the clock.
It probably indicates he's got another big guy. Maybe not.
I guess if he wants to use it just to prevent him from like casting like Wrath of God.
Yeah.
But
I guess he thinks like he's got this Blastoderm down, and if he just keeps tapping 2 lands, like
I guess he can do it here.
Nils is going to do with his.
He
two or
can
three
attack for
mana.
7 here, and then on his upkeep he could tap the Mishra's Factory again. So
Hmm.
I guess the only downside is now he's less likely to use. He can't use that additional mana from the elves this turn, but he's tapping right now.
Hmm.
Huh.
I think he's casting something,
Okay, so yeah, that must be the case.
but I don't know.
But then,
What?
then there's a risk of, well, I guess, yeah, because if Niels has like white source, he could cast Wrath of God because there's one Rishid Import activation. Right, 7's coming in. Yeah, I think what Niels wants to have is a white source and then be able to cast Wrath of God. I think that's what he's
What did he
looking to do.
tap down?
He tapped
There?
down the Dust Bowl, which I'm not
Why?
sure what he's afraid of. Like if he's not casting spell, maybe he changed his mind, but I don't know what that does, like
Mm.
pre-combat.
Yeah, it's a strange sequence. Maybe he thought the Mishra's wasn't tapped, or I don't know.
All right, so here white mana plus Wrath of God, I think is what. Huh? All right, things look a lot worse now. Like what does Niels do here? Like does he have any way he needs to like source the Plowshares one of the elves and then go to 1?
Um,
Because that
yeah,
Mistress
that would.
Factory is not going to be blocking. It's going to get tapped with from a Rishon Import.
Uh-huh.
And this Flooded Strand, like if he goes to 1, then that Flooded Strand is effectively Stone Rained.
Yeah, that's true. That is a way to kill land there.
I like how my bot yelled at you. What were you trying to link?
I was trying to link to the Twitter post I put. So people were asking for the deck list.
Send it to me in like Facebook, and then I'll post it.
Okay. Um, right. So we have lethal damage in play here. Looks like he can just tap a Mishra. And I think you're right. The Flooded Strand should not save him, right?
Mm-mm. Yep, and Niels packs it up. So
That's
that's
game one.
I was just on paper. I did not think that this TerraPonza deck looked pretty good. Of matchups, I think like blue-white Landstill does not seem like a nightmare matchup for it. But I mean, Niels' deck is just more powerful than Flint's. But that doesn't matter if you're able to sneak in a threat and then just kind of prevent Niels from doing anything. Those Rishid Imports really hampered Nils's like protection or development or whatever you want to call it. But yeah,
Port's a great card. It does a lot.
Yes.
Are they playing best of 5 or best of 3?
They're just doing a best of 3.
Okay, I just wanted to make that clear for everybody. Yep. So they are going to sideboards now, and they'll be throwing their goodies in.
Looking at the sideboard of Nils, there's nothing that like really excites me.
Yeah, I don't see much. He could keg away some elves, maybe. Maybe the chain, to like to get rid of a Bailoff or something, slow down his opponent when they have a lot of.
There could be a sweet sequence where Flint is trying to destroy one of Nils's land, and I guess Nils would have to target his own thing to bounce to copy the Chain of Vapor by sacking a land. So I don't think he's going to have any permanents to bounce then, because it is a non-land permanent, so it's not like Chain of Vapor would help. So Chain of Vapor could come in, but it's not like great. I mean, maybe it's better than something like Seal Cleansing. I'm going to bring up Flint's deck and see if his deck it changes significantly.
It's going to matter what he thinks Nils is going to, or Flint is going to bring in.
I mean, does Curse Scroll come in this matchup? I mean...
Oh, I think I would.
I mean, I think I like the Sylvan Library because you can leverage the life into more cards.
Definitely want the Sylvan Library.
Get that Argothian Wurm out of here, right?
Yeah. I mean, I might even put in these Masticores against him. But talking before the match, Nils mentioned that one thing he did a lot was just like side out his LD, because it wasn't he didn't think it was that great in his deck.
Okay.
So he might just bring in he might just take all the LD out and put in all cards that do things.
I think the LD in this matchup is a little bit better than like a lot of the other matchups, but there are problems too. Like Nils plays more land than the average deck, and card draw will help him get into more lands. So there's downsides to both ways you want to look at it.
Yeah, but it is 26 lands in his opponent's deck.
Yeah.
With card draw. Like I don't know if, although his opponent played a land every turn and he still won the game.
Mm-hmm.
And that was withdrawing like 4 LD spells and 2 ports, right?
Yep.
So maybe this is the matchup to kill all the lands.
All right, I'll jump back down to the match. It looks like the players are shuffling things up and getting ready for game number 2, as Flint is currently up a game. I've got the Argothian Wurm up. I know some of the people I've talked to, that's one question that we have to ask Flint at the end is, why was this card included? I'm guessing it's a nostalgia thing. I don't know. I never thought
if you play green and land kill, you have to have an Argothian Wurm. It's in the bylaws of green LD.
I mean, at least these are. I mean, how often is like Hunted Wumpus just better than this card? I don't know.
Usually.
Yes. I guess it doesn't. Hunted Wumpus doesn't trample, but
Hunted Wumpus would be great in this matchup.
Sure. I mean, in most matchups, the 6/6 is going to be bigger than what they're trying to put into play.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess a Dreadnought could come down and they have Stifle, but it's not like they're saving that with mana by doing
anyway,
that.
right?
Yeah.
You might save your opponent a single mana.
Yeah.
It can be critical in the LD matchup.
Yeah, can you imagine Flint playing against Stifle Knot? I guess he's got naturalizes, but yeah, game 1 does not seem good. Trying to blow
I cannot imagine him playing against Stifle Knot. I mean, I'm guessing he faded it.
He did. I think he did beat Goblins, which does seem like a matchup that could go really poorly. But yeah, I think he said all of his matches were very close.
Maybe he just got his Mastigore down against Goblins and went to town.
Yeah.
Mastigore Curse Scroll. That'll win games.
Sure.
Win some games against.
Those are good Magic cards.
The creatures.
All right, so Nils is putting 1 card back. So yeah, see mulligan to 6. And starts with a Faerie Conclave.
Llanowar Elf from Flint.
So a little bit of acceleration. Obviously, that's kind of a scripted play from Flint, given that he has 10 of those effects on turn 1.
Yeah. 6 elves, 4 wild growths, right?
Yes.
I like Quirion Ranger if you're gonna try to hit. If you have a lot of 4-drops in your deck, you can just like turn. I guess he had turn 2-1. Never mind. I don't know what I'm talking about.
So do you ever think, like, Flint has not played a land yet? Is this just bait? Like, trying to draw out a counterspell? Like, oh, I don't have any more land, try and get my Wallroots. I guess not.
No.
Nils drew a card, but I don't know, like...
it doesn't seem bad if he's, like... If I was land flooded, I might do it, you know?
Okay.
Like, if your hand was, like, 3 lands, 1 Wallroots, 1 Llanowar Elves, and, like, 2 other things, like, you might
you're saying like you would consider just passing the turn with the land. I'm just saying the way he sequenced things makes it seem like the Wallroots is a little more valuable.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Swords of Plowshares answers Llanowar Elves. And now there is a curse scroll out of Flint. Do we have the Annul? No. We didn't get to see like any of the fun of one-ofs out of Nils in the first game.
No.
I guess he did not cast.
Maybe he got land flooded.
He did not cast
all
many
he did
spells.
was play lands. He didn't really play many spells.
Impulse. What else did he cast?
Yeah, I don't.
He Seal Cleansing. Did he? He really didn't do much at all.
Yeah, his draw was just like no action whatsoever.
Yeah.
A timely land off the top.
Flint has added another curse scroll. I guess there's like he might get 6 mana. So
yeah, he played 2 last turn.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Yeah.
Now we got the Winter's Grasp. I mean, if you just have a bunch of lands in your hand,
I would bet my life on it.
What'd you say?
Nils has a factor fiction. I would bet my life on it.
I mean,
just like
if you have extra lands in your hand, you just don't care about this land destruction that much. I don't think.
Probably not. Yeah.
Huh?
All right, he doesn't. Never mind. Okay. I'd be a dead man.
Chat says rip.
It
was nice knowing you, BK. You had a short run at the commentary, but So who's like I like Nils' position from here, right? Like, but we kind of saw this in the first game that Flint didn't apply any pressure early, and then he kind of just put a blast storm into play, and it did a lot of damage. Granted, he doesn't have like those Rishon imports that he did in the first game, but yeah. I don't know.
I mean, whether it's turn 10 or turn 4, when you play blast storm when your opponent only has 2 or 3 lands, it's good.
Right? That's true. So the Plains was targeted, so Flint looks like he's going after the white mana. But Flooded Strand joins the party, so
I like going after the white mana over the blue mana.
Sure. I mean, there's different sequences or different board states where I would go after the blue, but
I mean, he plays a lot more blue in his deck, right? And all of his answers to his big guys are white, right? They're not blue.
Looks like Nils is the land destruction deck, exiling the Wall of Roots and the Land of Realms.
Yeah, stymieing his opponent, hit the land destruction decks mana. Sylvan Library from Flint is going to be a big one for him. See if Nils has a good answer for that. Looks like a counterspell will counter the Sylvan Library. Easy counter if you're blue.
Thanks for covering. I had a little one walk into my room, so
not a problem.
Okay, so Nils is at 18. Is that where we're at? Is that from a fetch land, or was it? I guess was a. Okay, well, all right, I'm caught up. So factor fiction here, we see a Force Spike, Disenchant, Flooded Strand, Counterspell, Dust Bowl. Well, it's a little bit awkward to reveal Force Spike off your factor fiction, but.
Is Nils like requesting counterspell or everything else, or is it?
Well, a lot of times, like in the webcams, like you usually start. You're like, okay, I'm gonna put like counterspell over here, and then you usually like add to the pile. So I think that was probably the thought process from Flint. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think if it were a 4-1 split, I'd be pretty inclined to take the 4 cards, but it's hard to tell when you don't know exactly what's in Flint's hand or in Nils' hand.
Nils takes the lands over Disenchant Counterspell.
So it was Flooded Strand, was it Island, and was it 3 lands, or was it?
It was Flooded Strand, Island, Force Spike.
Okay. Oh, it was Dust Bowl.
Or yeah, sorry.
Thank you, chat.
Versus Disenchant Counterspell.
I mean, Dust Bowl's pretty good here. Like we have the tables have turned that Niels is just
Yes.
the LD deck. He's blown up
The hunter
Letterelfs,
has become the
Walroots.
hunted.
Yes, yes.
It's like when Pac-Man eats the
The ghost.
the power pellet.
Look out, Inky, Blinky, Pinky, and what's the last one?
Clyde.
Clyde. It is. Yes. Okay.
Or Sue and Ms. Pac-Man.
Okay. I was gonna say Mo, but I'm getting my Stooges mixed up with my ghosts, I guess.
Yeah, it happens. Four Stooges, four ghosts.
All right, we got some Russian roulette here with Curse Scroll with 4 cards in hand. I think that's a creeping mold. Is that what it looks like to you? Well, given that Niels' life total did not go down, I think that was a miss, but I think that's what that card up is.
That's creeping mold.
Okay.
Nils is impulsing, still getting more. Man, is there anything better than impulsing?
Factor Fiction? I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
Accumulate knowledge for 3? I don't know.
I mean, you can factor fiction, you just win, right?
Yeah. I mean, it feels if like Flint doesn't have any pressure and Nils is able to resolve a factor fiction, it feels pretty good for Nils, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, with the lack of pressure from Flint, I mean, it doesn't really matter how many LD spells you have.
Yeah. Nils in the driver's seat. What else can we say about that?
Phil from chat says Portent on your opponent is the best blue draw spell.
Portent on your opponent.
Yep. It's a good one, especially in the webcam games.
It's
right.
Another factor fiction.
We got more factor fiction. So here we have
a pair of decrees.
Okay.
Source Plowshares, a Dust Bowl, and a Plains.
Well, so in some matchups, I will put like 2 decrees in one pile because like it doesn't matter. But here, like 2 decrees would actually be pretty good, I think, for Nils.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I might because there's still another land in Nils' hand, right? I guess you can't be sure that like if they're not enough tokens, they might get mowed down by Curse Scroll. Oh, okay. We are splitting the decrees. All right.
I mean, you take the decree that has more lands in it with it, right?
It's possible that Swords of well, I mean, you already have a Dust Bowl, so
yeah. One of these piles looks.
I mean, obviously, your Dust Bowl could get destroyed because there's LD and Wasteland out of Flint, but the second Dust Bowl is a lot worse than the first for Nils.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a second source of white mana, right? That Nils does not have otherwise, at least that we know about.
Yeah, I think I would totally switch those two.
But Nils is giving it some consideration, so.
I think I still might have just gone like 2 lands. 2 lands in the Swords or Decree.
But he does take the bigger
2
pile,
decrees.
So.
And just hope that they're light enough on land that the decrees don't help them that much.
Oh, that's funny. Phil is very well known to play some off the wall combo decks, and so his opponent had to portent him, and Foster was one of the cards, and his opponent is just like, I don't know what that card is. Like, can you bring it closer to the camera? Like, I can't recognize it. I can't read it. Like, I don't know what it is. So like he's just trying to figure it out. So yeah, it looks like the solution was he just put it on the bottom of the pile and they moved on. But yeah, Foster. I know when I typed up Phil's deck list, that was one I needed to look up. So Kudos to you, Phil, and that is a very good story.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what Foster does.
I've got it up on screen. It's 2 green for an enchantment. Whenever a creature you control is put into a graveyard, you may pay 1. If you do, reveal cards from the top of your library until you get a creature card. Put that one in your hand and the rest in your graveyard.
Oh, all right.
So it's kind of reminds me of like Evolutionary Leap, but that's a much newer card.
Do you play a bunch of blood pets with it, or?
It was a combo deck. I think it was with Cathodian and it was something else that gave him multiple mana, and then there was like a, I think the win condition was like, I think it was Ticking Gnomes. Is the card? Yeah, so he could like just, if he went through his loop, he could like churn through his deck and then get infinite mana with Ashnod's Altar, and I think it might have just been like Ornithopter.
How does he get his creatures back in his deck though? To go
He had
into
Gaia's Blessing, I think.
Oh, okay.
So it's it's kind of like, I think he did a write up on it. If you want to learn more about that deck, I think Phil usually does when he plays his off the wall decks. He usually writes up a little bit about it and his experience with it.
It appears a Baloth has arrived
Yeah,
on
so
the scene.
no more Ticking Gnomes. Let's go to the Ravenous Baloth.
Flint has actually added a permanent.
Yeah, but we know there's a source of Plowshares in Nils' hand, right?
And Nils might even be thinking about countering it still. I'm not even sure.
I'm a little surprised that this Dust Bowl hasn't been activated, but I guess maybe you want to wait until and then like play your decree first and then start going after Flint's lands. But
yeah, that's why I might have done the 2 lands as well. Like, take these 2 threats or kill my mana base. Your choice. Yeah, I think a couple Dust Bowl activations before Factor Fictioning might have been pretty brutal on Flint. But this is probably great too.
So I'm not sure if Niels is. I think he's still considering. I think this Ravenous Baloth's still on the stack. Right, he's fetching.
He Dust Bowled.
Oh, he Dust Bowled.
And now he's playing it.
That was not a fetch. Okay. I was very confused. I'm like, I saw the motion of the fetch land, but they didn't move the life total down. But looks like a Dust Bowl activation. That makes sense. And then yeah, the Ravenous Baloth does get plowed. Flint does choose to sacrifice it. It doesn't get
gaining
exiled.
4 instead of gaining 4.
Yeah.
But putting in the graveyard.
Yeah. How big would a Terravor be right now?
Pretty gigantic. I'm sure they're still in the mix, right?
Yeah. That's, I mean, kind of a card I forgot about, and like, it's kind of neat in this matchup because the games will go so long.
Oh, okay. Flint is smarter than me because he got his opponent to not take that Dust Bowl by putting in the two side, and now he's able to. Now he can wasteland the Dust Bowl and be out of Dust Bowl hell.
I mean, this is still not like a very good exchange. Like if you're wastelanding this Dust Bowl and losing your wasteland and a Mishra's Factory.
Yeah, but he will make him tap out.
Okay.
I have confidence.
But I mean, in the meantime, like Flint can't use his mana, right?
Right, but if Nils ever activates Dust Bowl, he gets to, like, what's he get? He's going to Dust Bowl that factory anyway.
Okay. Well, we see Nils is sacrificing an island to target, I think, the Mishra's Factory.
Yeah, I would guess so.
Curse Scroll activation, so we'll roll the dice. And we see a Blastoderm. Looks like that's a hit.
Looks like the life total went down, and yeah, I assume he's going to wasteland the Dust Bowl here.
Okay. So what if just Flint just starts naming Fire Blast with Curse Scroll to get his opponent scared.
Classic.
Do you think that bluff would be worth it in this matchup?
Open deck list takes the teeth out of that one, but it's a brave move.
All right, we see a Decree of Justice, so 3 tokens will be added.
Yep. The dorks are here.
Yeah, so not a fast clock, but and these are coin flips to remove the tokens. We'll see. Curse Scroll.
Yeah, you should be able to scroll
I thought there were
them
2
down.
cards. There's 3 cards. Okay.
Now I'm just guessing he has 2 Blastoderms in hand if he's at least 2.
Sure.
If he's upkeep scrolling, or maybe he did after draw.
Do you like that Decree for just 3? I guess is this a point where
I
you
don't
just
hate it.
do you like attack with Faerie Conclave here? Like the Rishon ports down, you sneak in a few more damage?
Yeah, I mean, I like ending the game if I have control. Like he has control of the game. His opponent's stuck on 3 lands with Curse Scroll. Like he just keeps him busy having to respond to his stuff.
Wait, did he not even attack?
I'm guessing
Neither
he
player
attacked for 2.
neither player moved down the life, and Flint is untapped.
Um,
You just forget about his tokens?
he may have.
All right, we have Annul for Sylvan Library.
Mm-hmm. Second Sylvan counter in this game.
I mean, I think I'd get aggressive at least with one of the lands to attack.
Yeah.
Thank you for the follow, Liga Premodern Licante. Welcome, welcome. It's like I can't even say the word pre-modern. See, that's how much difficulty I have with people's names. All right, now the
Maybe
tokens. Yeah, they're no longer beads, so they're less likely
Yeah.
for Niels to forget about
Maybe he
attacking
put
them.
cards in play so he would remember to attack.
Yeah.
Like, are these sideways? I don't know. There's a keg.
Yeah. Phil points out the silver lining of Flint's Sylvan Library getting countered is good because Curse Scroll is worse if he has to draw extra cards.
True. Well, we have attained Blastoderm mana.
There's a naturalized. That's probably on the Powder Keg. I guess that's the only target.
Mm.
He's fighting over this. Okay, so he wants to destroy presumably these Curse Scrolls. I don't know what else
Yeah,
he'd be saving it for.
I would think so. Gonna tap his factory.
That does make his tokens, like the 2 tokens, a lot more potent when you're able to blow up the Curse Scrolls. And now maybe you can just counter any of the creatures that Flint plays and beat down.
Looks like he backed up
Yep. Oh, he
the attack.
wants to attack with a Faerie Conclave as well.
Mm-hmm.
So Flint will take 4 down to 19. And now he'll use the Powder Keg to get rid of those Curse Scrolls. So things look pretty good for Niels.
Yeah. But a Blastoderm could be hit and play here, which could maybe kill some tokens.
Yeah, I would say even if a Blastoderm came down, like the tokens could soak up some damage, and Niels could still attack with a Faerie Conclave at least for 1 turn.
Mm-hmm.
So Ravenous
Do you lead
Bailoff resolves.
Do you lead with Bailoff there, or Blastoderm, you think?
Probably Ravenous Bailoff, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it makes too much of a difference for Flint,
You
other than
can
he,
sack the Blastoderm to the Baloth later.
yeah, other than the fact that Nils knows that he's a Blastoderm in hand. I don't think he knew about this Ravenous Baloth.
Right.
I think that's probably the biggest difference.
Yeah, I think that's what would give me the nod to playing the Blastoderm. I think it does do more damage, and maybe he'll get him to chump with the tokens before he can block with like a factory and a token though, and trade for the Baloth.
Okay, yeah.
I guess he has a port.
Do you ever take this?
I would activate factory here to make him
Sure.
like,
yeah, I do like that
make
play.
him do the dance, you know, so that
like even if
yeah,
if you don't think you're going to use your mana, then it makes Flint use his, which you know is potentially valuable because of Blastoderm.
Yeah, like I think if he activates factory, his opponent has to port it. Flint has to port it, right? And then he can't cast a Blastoderm.
Yep, I do like that. It looks like I think that's what he's going for.
I don't think he needed us. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
All right, so is Flint letting him block?
I think so.
And it looked like he blocked with all four, which I guess
That's
makes
strange.
sense.
I
guess it just
like it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Right?
I guess there's I can't even think of it. Oh, naturalize. I guess there.
I mean, naturalize would be does make that block bad.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I can't think of instant speed removal.
I can't think of a card that punishes Nils for just blocking with a token and a land.
Yeah, I think I would have. I think in Flint's spot, I think you tap the. I think tapping the factory is pretty good.
All right, so the Blastoderm was attempted, and Mana Leak was the answer, and now Nils is attacking with the Faerie Conclave and the remaining token. So Flint is at 14? I missed something. Okay. Now we have another Blastoderm.
We figured he had two, though, right?
Yeah. Thank you for the love, Anton. I'm glad that we do get some of the games in a European-friendly time zone. I know that the PSS starts super late for you guys, so I do know a lot of you guys do catch the replays, so that's appreciated. But all right, well, this Blastoderm is coming in. Looks like Nils is going to block with that token. Is that an indication that he has like Rathagon? If you're blocking right away, I don't know how liberal you want to be with your life total. It's not like that 1/1 is doing that much, but
yeah, I mean, you could trade 5 for 1 for a little while, but I guess it's 3 for 5, so that's not so bad.
Sure. All right, we have a Fact or Fiction.
The nice thing about Blastoderm, if you're a control player, is jumping a few times does just kill it for you.
Yes.
Ooh, there's that one Exalted Angel he had in his board.
Yeah, I mean,
which is going to be
Flint made 5-1 or 4-1 against the Exalted Angel. Like, can he beat that card?
I don't think so. I don't think he might not have a like Terravor maybe.
Okay.
Who's big enough, but I don't think there's a lot in his deck that can race Exalted Angel, and I don't think he has answers for it really, right?
I can't think of stuff. Like, Mastercore doesn't answer. His sideboard was like naturalizes and composts and curse scrolls. So
yeah, he has no main deck answers to it. Yeah.
I didn't even see the split and didn't see the result. I was looking at something else. But
I'm guessing that Exalted Angel ended up in his hand, though.
Yes. So Faerie Conclave gets tapped. Oh, okay, so there's a Wrath of God. So that'll take out the Blastoderm and the Walrus. So this seems like very good for Nils. Like I don't
Good
know,
exchange.
like I don't know what Flint would need to have.
Maybe he did pass in the Angel.
Angel seems so good.
Yeah, it seems just unbeatable to me. Another 4/4 or larger.
Oh, that resolves. All right, 6 mana. That's 5 mana.
Yeah, I was looking at the deck list when they did the split too.
I don't know what I was looking at. I was like staring at the screens and still wasn't paying attention.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that's my fault.
I'll share the blame.
Yeah, I'm just
I
waiting.
could have looked over at the stream probably and figured it out, and I
Yeah.
didn't think of it doing that either. Like, there's probably still time to.
Sure, a little bit of delay, yeah. Flint's just kind of shuffling back in his chair. I mean, like, at this point, he's just going to play the cards he draws, I think, pretty much.
He's in that position where, like, I should probably just scoop, but I should probably also just play the game because they could just draw 10 lands in a row. But then again, who's got the 4/4 here?
That's true. Well, Niels is definitely taking his time on figuring out what he wants to do. I guess so. So he has a Mishra's Factory, and a 6 mana, and there's Exalted Angel. Okay.
I think he took the Exalted Angel now.
Hopefully he did. Otherwise, we got some
And
problems.
we got tap out control happening here.
All right.
Here comes a
Faerie Conclave for 2.
Conclave. He is now the beatdown.
Flint's excited about his turn 15 under his grasp.
You are unwise to lower your defenses.
I have you now. That's the last time that Faerie Conclave will attack.
Yeah. Not chipping in for 2 there.
All right, we got some life totals changing. Nils will go up 4. Flint will go down 4.
Yes. It's a lead change.
Yes.
14-12 now, right? Oh no, never mind. It's not. He was already ahead.
Yeah.
I had the life totals mixed up.
Maybe it's a Argothian Wurm. Maybe Flint's just trying to like resolve a Terravore.
An Argothian Wurm.
Yeah, Argothian Wurm. All right, Flint's had enough.
He drew Argothian Wurm and conceded.
I think Argothian Wurm got sideboarded out. I think that's what he said typically happened every time.
I think it's a wise choice.
Okay, I'm going to bring up the decks, and because we did see a number of sideboard cards out. Well, I guess we saw Curse Scroll out of Flint, and we saw Naturalize, right?
Yes, we did.
So A number of cards have been brought in. I don't know exactly what has been brought out.
I mean, we saw Winter's Grasps, that's for sure. He might have taken some LD out, but not all of it, I guess. Um,
Other than that, you take out like elves or something, like Findhorn elves, but I don't.
Wall of Roots you could take out.
Sure, we saw that though.
Like,
Didn't we see at
yeah, we
least two
did.
of those?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Maybe he doesn't want to keep the elves in because they can just get kegged
yeah.
with his. But I think Nils only has one keg.
Uh,
It might have been the only keg, but I'm double checking.
he does have one keg in the board. I don't think there was one in the main. I'm looking for it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see it.
So playing around like Sword CR, yeah, there's no. I think we're pretty sure there's no coming back from an Exalted Angel for the screen deck.
I guess we can look. You have to be pretty far ahead on board to beat an Exalted Angel.
10 mana plus Masticore is out. Or I guess Curse Scroll plus 9 mana could do it too.
With a Massacre, yeah.
Each Curse Scroll reduces the amount of mana required to kill the Exalted Angel by 1.
Yeah, I wonder if Nils will ever just like sneak in an Exalted Angel for 3. Like, yeah, you might open yourself up to it getting Curse Scroll or whatnot, but it's pretty good against like Rishadan port. That like if you try and port them and you have 4 lands play, it's like, all right, I'll just flip my Angel, and then the game's pretty much done. I mean, there is only one Exalted Angel, but
I thought that was Noah. It's Noah Swartz.
Ah, hello.
Pro Tour top 8 competitor at Pro Tour San Juan.
Huh?
He played mono green, much like Flint.
What's Flint's playing?
Only not really like Flint's
no.
deck at all. He played Beastmaster's Ascension. Remember that deck?
Okay, yes. I know that deck because of the. I don't know if you were playing that one, but we did a PMVI where we did like a.
I think
it was.
Did I end up with that deck?
No, it was the one in Milwaukee. You were there.
Yeah. Did I end up with that deck?
No. Well,
no. Oh no, you got it cheap or something, right? Or
I think what deck did I play that one? Okay, so no, Lester had it, and he just
okay.
No, he played Tooth and Nail, and he like, what did I have?
This is the crazy thing about PMVAs. I had no idea what deck I played at that event.
Okay, like, so
it was Block Party, right?
Yes, they were all block decks that. Yes, it was all block decks. I guess they all hadn't necessarily won like a major tournament, but they probably did. So if I can recall, I think Lewis played like a Cascade deck. Seth had the Wapo Tapa one that won the Time Spiral one. Like the Teachings deck. I might have had the mono green deck.
Somebody had fairies, right? We had to have fairies in there. Maybe
we might have not because we might have thought it would have been too good. I don't know. I'll have to pull it up. I'm sure I have it.
Is that the PMVI way? I feel like we try to put the best decks in and hope that the bidding.
Yeah. That the auction is more exciting, but yeah.
Yeah. I think I had Affinity. Okay. And I think I just got wrecked playing Affinity.
I just remember I got outplayed by Lester, and I think he was on Tooth and Nail.
But you don't know what you were playing?
I want to say I was playing the Beastmaster Ascension deck, but I don't remember. Which is
might have been.
It's weird how many decks I remember other people playing, and I can't remember what I played.
Yeah. We need to get coverage.
Yeah.
So we can go back and read it.
I thought about
relive our PMVI glory days.
I could just record like a bunch of matches and then do commentary over it later for like 3 people who would probably be interested in watching it, but probably be more for myself than anyone
We're talking about an invitational tournament that Mike holds. That I guess if you're a Premodern fan and a Michael Hoy fan, you know all about it. But it's the Pure Molten Victory Invitational. It happens once a year. It's an 8-person invitational tournament that Mike holds, and we play all like crazy formats, like Like Rochester draft.
Yeah. Well, we get even
7 card
crazier than that.
standard.
Like 7 card standard is usually one that we do. So you use the standard card pool. We ban a certain number of cards, and then your deck is only 7 cards. You don't lose for drawing from an empty library, but you would draw a card at the beginning of your turn if something does get shuffled back in, and you try and build the best constructed deck you can, and it's really, really interesting. All right, but we'll talk about this match.
Meanwhile, an elf has been plowed.
Yes. See you later. Get out of here, Findor and elves.
And we have a Wall of Roots and a follow-up elf. No.
Flint has, looks like 3 cards in his hand.
Oh, that's a very polite, remote thing to do. Put a die on your hand. So many cards you have. Right, no, you should totally play Premodern. This format's great.
Nils is embracing his inner LD. He's just plowing
swordsing every mana source that hits play. How do you feel about that? Do you think that's?
I think it's the first one for sure. I think makes sense. A lot of sense, like bolting the bird kind of thing.
Yeah. Like he might run out of removal for the Bailoffs and Blastoderms later.
Yeah, but then the problem is like if you just don't kill the mana acceleration, then you might be dealing with like the LD spells, and then you might not be able to cast your plows to begin with. So, and it's not for sure that like Flint has pressure, right? Like I guess it could be a little bit problematic if he does follow up with like a Bailoff or a Blastoderm right away, but there's no guarantee that Flint has like a turn 4 Blastoderm. We do see
Thermal Karst on the plains. Unfortunately, the plains is not snow covered. He will not gain a life.
Oh, Flint's back down to 20. I'm like, why is he at 20? Because he gained a life from the plow, but fetch land was the reason. All right, so Nils has another land. Is this the point where Flint just starts blowing up lands after land after land?
Winter's Grasps and Winter Factories.
Yeah, if you thermokarst a Winter Factory, do you gain a life?
You should.
It's like literally a snow-covered land.
I think it's been errated. They should have ratted that one into a snow-covered Mishra's Factory.
But then would you be able to play... No, they have the same name, so...
Can we get that added to the Premodern bylaws?
Maybe. Alright, so Flint is getting aggressive with his Mishra's Factory. It looks like he's attacking with one and pumping the other one. Is this a disenchant?
Bravely attacks with a factory thinking it won't get plowed, but it gets disenchanted instead.
I think I was talking to Lester about this, but we had a poll up on the best art for disenchant. What is your favorite? So it's
I like the original.
Beta? Okay.
The little rooster medallion.
Yep.
I don't know why. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't really say like disenchanting something or anything, but neither do a lot. The other ones don't totally do that either to me.
Yeah.
I do kind of like the Mercadian Masks one.
I do too. For some reason I like that dude.
Where he's just like, he's like, oh, who broke my thing? What happened here?
Yeah, I do like that one.
Honorable mention. But I like the classics. Okay. I like old art a lot because it's more iconic.
Yeah.
And like even if it's not a picture of something disenchanting, you always see that artwork and you know it's disenchant, right? Mm-hmm. If you've played with it.
Looks like you got a fan of the Saga one.
Mm-hmm.
Someone likes the Mirage one. The Mirage one just doesn't do it for me.
I think I've convinced myself that I love the Mercadian Mass one the most just now. Burning all my disenchants after I get done here. putting in a TCG order for 20 copies of
the
Mercadian
stock.
Mask
Yeah, the
Disenchant.
Mercadian Mask stock of that one. Just the price of it just shot through the roof thanks to us.
The foils are the foils are already gone. Another Winter Mishra's Factory. All right, Nils down to 14 after that.
So it just beats from a Mishra's Factory. That's where we're at.
Oh, good point, chat. Arena Disenchant. I love it.
Oh, I don't think I can bring that one up on my card fetcher. So who do you like from the spot? I mean, like, Nils has not hit land for a little bit, but Flint's pressure is... I wouldn't say it's minimal, because, like, 3 damage a turn and tapping down a land is decent. Well, Seal Cleansing is a good answer. It's no Mercadian Mask Disenchant, but...
I wonder why... Can we see that one again? I wonder why we didn't... why he didn't attack with 2 Mishras instead of...
I don't know.
Attacking and pumping. Because he didn't use that last forest, right?
Yeah. Well, he gets in with both this time, so... Oh, it looks
Can
like...
I just say Seal... I do feel Seal Cleansing is, like, a better disenchant almost every time in this format.
It's a lot. Was it summoning sick? Was that the problem? That might have been it.
No, I think he pumped the turn before, so I don't think it was sick.
Okay.
But I might be wrong.
I haven't been paying attention. I've been focusing too much on trying to impersonate a Mercadian Masks dude.
Yeah.
Well, Nils is down to 11. He does have a Mishra's Factory of his own, but it's not very good at fighting when there's a Rishan Import on the other side. There's a Morph, though. There's only 1 white mana. So this is just like a timer. I mean, like, white land is just like... I guess if like Flint could port the plains during the upkeep, and that would buy him an extra turn if there is another white source. I guess Niels is checking to make sure it's a morph. But yeah, this could really close out the game if this Exalted Angel flips up.
Is that a morph? Oh no. Yeah, you got to tap down white source next turn, right? Mm-hmm. I was gonna say last game. Nils LD'd Flint, but this game Flint was kind of landstilling or man landing Nils to death.
We have not seen a Standstill
They're just
yet.
acting like each other's decks.
I wonder if those got sideboarded out. We have not seen Standstill, have we?
Yeah, we have not seen a single Standstill this game. But has he been up? Can he play it against in these positions?
Well, it's tricky, yeah, because I mean, like, Rishan Import and Wasteland and Mishra's Factory all out of Flint. He does do a good job of playing under a Standstill. And there might be pressure, too, so...
What if he just has the scroll here?
That would be very good if you could just kind of hold it for the right moment and then was able to curse scroll this thing away.
Yeah. Had him the whole way. Just like...
There's a Mastercore. But he had to use his Rishan Import. So if there is just white mana, then it's pretty much... I think he's just saying, hope you don't have white mana right now.
Yeah. Show me. He's just saying, show me.
Huh?
He doesn't have it.
He's a disenchant for the Mastercore, so that's probably the next best thing.
Yeah.
I guess you also... Like, would you ever... do that over flipping up the Angel? Because this is like your only opportunity to destroy the Mastercore.
I don't think you can. I don't think you do that. Okay. Like your opponent's not on 10 mana, so you're safe.
It could be 9 with a curse scroll. We don't actually. He doesn't have curse scroll. Otherwise, he probably would have used it.
But even if he uses that 9, he doesn't have it in play yet, so he still needs 10. as per our previous Masticore curse scroll math versus Exalted Angel.
Is he going to be able to just kill this? Wait, did an Exalted Angel just attack into... Oh, no, that's Flint attacking. I was thinking Exalted... The morph was... Okay. Okay, so first of all, attack from Mishra's Factory. Nils goes down to 9. And then Curse Scroll is attempted. So that would have been a very big for Curse Scroll because we would have been able to hit this Exalted Angel.
Oh, yeah.
But Nils had the Annul. So Flint is just hoping that there's not white mana for Nils.
That's rough drawing the Curse Scroll the turn after. Like, you would have had it last turn, it's just no more Exalted Angel.
Well, Flooded Strand is just what he needed, so...
Yeah, he's not at 1, so this...
As long as this actually is an Exalted Angel and not... what was the one that Kai flipped up? The Daru... Entangler or something? I don't know. Do you know that story?
No.
So there's 2 like white creatures in the onslaught block, and they have very similar art, and one of them has morph and one of them doesn't. And I think Kai thought he had the morph one and cast it as a morph, and then like at the end of the game, you have to flip up his morphs, and he just lost the game because he accidentally put the one.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I remember that card. It did look just like that morph.
But it is an Exalted Angel. He did not fail to find a plains, and the life totals are...
It's 10 to 13 right now.
Rapidly changing, yes.
Yeah, I don't know. This might be the first match I call right.
It was a lot closer than I thought.
I think the other 2 were both upsets. They were both. This one was closer than I thought too.
Yes,
yeah,
this match was a lot closer.
I was starting to think I was the kiss of death. Like if I thought you're gonna win, you're just done. Yeah. Did Flint tap wrong last turn? Because he could have kept a horde up, right? And kept the angel from flipping for one more turn. Or 2 turns ago, when he cast the Curse Scroll, he used the...
I didn't... Maybe.
He used the Port's mana for it.
Okay. Yeah, that could have been something that could have won him a turn.
I don't know if it would have.
Yeah, Ron says that he tapped it to cast the scroll. Jared says, a wise man once said, don't confuse Overload for Erratic Explosion when you try to kill someone with a Draco. When you cast your Insidious Dreams and go get an Overload.
Those do look alike.
I mean, we're just all but over here. I don't think there's anything that's going to come out of Flint's deck here that's going to make a difference. Well, how close are we to 10 mana?
Ooh, 2, 4, 6, 7.
All right, I don't think that's enough time.
Yeah. You need some icy manipulators on the board for this.
All right, so see a little bit of life total movement, and I think in a few turns, Flint is just going to be packing them up. Usually, like, I'm like playing a red deck when I play against Exalted Angel, and like obviously a hit from Exalted Angel is terrible, but you usually have the out of like drawing a combination of bird spells to get rid of it. But Flint just can't do anything, and it is just it's pretty miserable. Just saying this card is just gonna single-handedly destroy me. What are we casting here? Spirit of the Night. All right. All right.
All right, good games. The Exalted Angel. He could have had 59 cards in Exalted Angel.
Yes.
59 lands, Exalted Angel. I think it would have been all right. This matchup.
Yeah. So Nils does
Maybe
take
not.
it down, but I mean the way that match played out was very interesting. It felt much closer. Like I don't know
Yeah.
how
I
often
said that. That's not right. Like
yeah.
he definitely had to have a lot of control elements to stop Nils from establishing. And
All right, I'm going to jump in and we'll be able to listen into the players and maybe they're going to discuss a little bit about their sideboarding.
And I was debating if I should, like, it would put me open for a top deck curse scroll for one single turn. Like, you could just play it, activate it, and kill it.
Yep.
So I was like, oh, please don't play curse scroll into when I don't have blue mana for annuls.
Yeah, I didn't have it right away. I actually drew it the turn when you had the 2 blue mana open.
Yep.
And I was just like, well, he doesn't have any white mana open or anything, so I mean, he's got to have a counterspell for it. But I'll attack first and just kind of see what he does. But I had assumed at that point that you had some way to interact. You weren't just gonna, leave your angel vulnerable for too many turns.
No, I figured that your option to kill it was, like we talked about, was to play a Mastercore, and yeah, actually the turn when you did play the Mastercore, I top decked the Disenchant.
Oh,
because my hand was
really?
these Annul, right? And I was like, I need a white mana or like something to flip it before you kill it. And then I drew a Disenchant, and I was like, yeah, you don't have the mana.
wow.
So I was lucky there, but I guess if you did just, I don't know if you sandbagged the Massacre or if you just top decked it as well. But I felt I had there was this one turn when I tapped out for this angel that I was really vulnerable, and I was. But if I don't, I can wait forever for that fourth land to keep on, try to have mana open. So I
right.
better just put my eggs in the basket and just pray that you don't have interaction that single turn, because you basically had like I think like 2 or maybe like few cards in your hand. So and then if you had the scroll curse scroll, you would only put it in play, and so it didn't seem like you had that much interaction in hand, at least. So I felt that I was playing against the top of your deck, and I was playing from the top of my deck as well, because the Annul wasn't doing anything.
Yep.
Yeah,
for sure.
Plan,
oh, go ahead.
Yeah. I figured I would just board in lots of Disenchant or effect, because at least I can counter your Wild Growth or Sylvan Library. I figured you will probably bring in the Curse Scroll, which leaves you with and Sylvan Library. So that's already 10 cards that Annul counters.
Yep.
After sideboard, and you might even bring in the Master Card. I figured, so felt like that's not really it felt like kind of reasonable, because Standstill is quite terrible in this matchup because you have so much interaction with your lands. So yeah,
I think that all makes sense.
And also the Prohibit felt really bad because you play a lot of 3 mana spells, and playing 4 mana to counter it seems not ideal. Yeah, maybe we should put those other guys on.
Oh yeah.
They might even want to talk to us. I don't know.
Maybe if we're lucky.
Maybe. Well, it was so quiet and pleasant when having them.
Hey,
can you hear us?
Hello.
Yeah.
All right.
Congratulations, Nils. Condolences, Flint. That match played a lot closer than I guess I anticipated it.
Yeah, Flint made us believe it was going to be not much less close than that before the match.
I mean, if I would have had a Blastoderm or something to follow up, the first couple of turns in Game 3, I think that things would have gone differently. But You know.
Yeah.
That sometimes the
think-
deck just squeezes out wins when you don't think it will.
Yeah.
This was one of the matchups I feared most in top 8, actually.
Oh.
Because you have so much interaction under Standstill with your lands
Mhm.
and uncontrollable stuff, wastelands, the port. I cannot jam a Standstill because you will be better to play under it than I am, most likely. You have the port to tap down my lands. You can waste my dust balls, and you can still attack with your own Mishras under my standstills. So so it feels at least a two-edged sword, to say the least. I decided to keep 2 because I don't have any much other relevant cyber cards. Sometimes it will be good, but
Did you board Humility out?
sorry.
Did you board Humility out? Is that what card that is?
Yeah, I boarded Humility out.
Oh.
I figured it would be hard to get to 4 mana. And actually, I was afraid that if I played Humility, I might just lose to him attacking with Wall of Roots.
Could happen, yeah.
I guess also if he has...
I've seen that happen before against Elves. Like, I played Humility and hope I will just win, and then he just swings in with a group of 1-1s, and I'm not able to interact because I don't think I can count on my man-lands this matchup because he has so much destruction for them. So if I do play the Humility, I don't have any way to block whatever he has on board.
Mm-hmm.
And I also wanted to bring in the Angel, and I don't want to have the Humility and Angel.
Okay.
Like they.
Yeah.
So,
Angel is definitely the ace of this matchup.
Yes, very, very good.
Yeah.
We're just looking at his list and like, wow, what does he do?
Though it's probably
Not
unlikely you get beat by
much.
Wall of Roots with the Humility in play because it's probably has been used at least once, and the -0, -1 counter would just kill it. But I could see understanding that, like, just random creatures could kill you. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
As I said to Flint, the Prohibit seems really bad because he curves out at 3, so I had to play 4 mana to counter anything. So
yeah.
In this matchup, I really wanted that to be mana leak instead, of course. But in other matchups, it works wonders.
Yeah, that's what chat wants to know. They with your cards like Disrupt and Force Spike and Prohibit, how did they play for you like throughout the whole tournament so far? Have you been happy with them?
Yeah, I as I said, or in the form, which he didn't put on there, but I don't believe that this is an optimal build of Landstill by any means.
Okay.
This tournament, I wanted to experiment. So I put in a lot of different counter spells I wanted to try out and see how they function, rather than play what I believe is the best 60 cards. So Disrupt and Force Spike are among those. How did they work out? Well, they had their moments, but in general, I think you're better off playing a more generic counter spell like Mana Leak. But yeah, sometimes I think in this matchup, well, they are weaker when the deck list is open. But I think in this matchups, having the 1 mana counters are beneficial because it makes me able to interact a bit earlier, and Flint's curves out at 3 and 4, so the Force Spike should be alive a bit longer than in some other matchups. So I think actually those cards are good in this matchup. But yeah, I was actually going to ask you, Flint, did you play around those cards, especially in game 1? Because I noticed you always had 1 additional mana when you played your land destruction spells.
In game 1, I did, absolutely. I know I was already on the draw, and I knew that I wasn't going to try to be able to get you, with 1 mana open or something along those lines. And And then in game 2, obviously, I just shouldn't have kept the hand that I kept. I had some mana rocks. I had an elf and a wall of roots. I had a curse scroll. I had some, land destruction spell and I think a blasted arm. And so I was like, well, if I just draw 1 or 2 lands in the next, the first 2 or 3 turns, I should be okay. And then as everybody saw, it didn't work out super well. And so I couldn't really afford to play around as much in game 2, but in game 1, I definitely did.
Yeah. Yeah, I did have the force spike there at one point, but you always played around it, so I was never able to get any profitable use of it.
Sure.
But then again, I guess just having you play around it is better than you just, also the mind games, I guess, of you knowing I do have that kind of spells make you play a bit differently, which also sometimes might be beneficial for me. Yeah. But I think the games actually turn out quite as I expected them to be. Actually, in game 1, I felt much more confident that I would take this down because I kept a 5-land hand, and I figured that eventually I would draw something. I think my cards were like 5 lands, an impulse, and I don't recall.
Were you just flooded out that game? It seemed like you didn't have much action for most of the game.
Yeah, well, kind of. As I said, I kept the 5-land hands, and I figured I would draw. Like, I want to have lots of lands against the land destruction, and I will just draw some interaction. But I either I drew a lot of lands, but then also I drew the wrong cards from my deck. I drew all my 4 mana stuff. So I had like Factor Fiction, Double Wrath of God, and all those stuff, and I never got to any more than 3 mana.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like the most of the game, or not, I guess from turn 3 or something, I was like, if I get to 4 mana, I will play this Factor Fiction, then I will turn this around and it will all be fine. But it never got to that point because Flint always had another land destruction spell. He had the Wastelands. He had the Resetting Port that was able to tap down my land number 3 before I could play my 4th land. So I was hoping like maybe I could play a Factor Fiction in my upkeep in response to the port, but I never got to that point. And then the Blasted Wurm is really a quick clock, so I was not able to interact with it. So if it was a Balut, I would have been fine because I had the Swatch to Plowshares in my hand, or I did find it. But it would change anything because I had to fetch for a white mana to kill an elf, which doesn't change the clock in the last turn there. So yeah. Just didn't have the Flint was always that turn ahead. It seemed like I was always lagging one. If I just could get one counter in to counter a land destruction spell, so I could have one turn off with all the land destruction, I might have been able to stabilize, but it never happened. I didn't draw anything, only like source speed stuff basically. And that's really not where I want to be.
Cool. Flint, I do have a question. I've been bothered a couple times about this. Why are you playing Argothian Wurm?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've been bothered about it the entire tournament. It's always been a kind of a nostalgic card for me. I remember when Urza Saga came out, and I was like, "Whoa, this is so cool!" You can make him destroy a land, and I've always kind of wanted to play it. And there had been some other lists that had done well, like Jared Saitowski had run a version of this deck a while ago, and he had the worms in. And I looked at his list, and I looked at some of the other like mono green or red green Ponza lists, and decided that I didn't want to go red. I decided not to splash red for earthquakes or burning wishes or anything along that line, or stone rains or whatever. And then the other thing that I decided is I wanted to cut some number of the worms, and I ended up keeping one because I was like, well, it's good when you're already ahead, I guess, and maybe late game it could be it could be decent, but I was just wrong, and I should have gone with my initial inclination of this card is just bad.
How would that card be good late game?
Well, once you're already ahead, you just play the Wurm. They've got one land in play or whatever it is, and you swing in for your 6. And it's good pressure. But Terravor's just better. So
Argothian Wurm is good if they have one land in play.
Yeah, listen, I realize it was stupid. If that's the point you're trying to make, it's pretty obvious. But
I was surprised
about it before.
Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brian.
No, you. I was like gonna make another point, but keep going about Argothian Wurm.
I was just gonna say, like, I would cut it for a creeping mold, honestly, because I do like having a little bit more interaction for artifacts and enchantments main deck, but then it has the flex land destruction piece, which is consistent with the deck. So I think if there's one quick change I would make, it would be that, and then the other piece is just whether or not a couple of Masticores should just be in the main deck as well. Terravor is really good, and it actually did win me some games, but it's just not a good card to draw early on, right? So I usually don't want to see a Terravor in my first 12 cards that I draw. But there were a couple games in the preliminaries where it was my out, and it actually did win me. The game against something like a Mother of Runes, given it had trample. So it was nice in some narrow situations, but it might be that Masticore is just better. But
I was a little surprised to see you took them out. You took them out.
Yeah. So my reasoning going into game 3 was I really just need to destroy a couple lands and apply some quick pressure, because as those games go on, it just gets worse and worse and worse for me. And historically in games, I had boarded out my land destruction. Brian, you and I were talking about this. Like, I won so many games by just boarding out a ton of land destruction spells, boarding in all my Masticores, my Curse Scrolls, and my Sylvan Library, and then just, going on the quick beatdown plan. But in this game, it's just, he can kill it with Swords to Plowshares. He can kill it with Wrath of God. It's not going to be good until later in the game anyway, and he's had an opportunity to draw into more of his deck. And so I was just like, I want something that's going to impact the board a little bit more and have a little bit more game. So I decided to bring in the Masticores instead, because I could at least kill like Mishra's Factories or Faerie Conclaves, man lands, or if he decided to do an early decree, at least I'd have a response to that. But in hindsight, it probably wasn't the best move, just given that he has so much artifact and enchantment hate in his sideboard. It just sort of turns on so many more of those cards. So I think in hindsight, I probably wouldn't do it, but that was my thinking at the time.
Good.
Flint, have you considered one of my pet cards, the Werebear?
Werebear, I mean, Werebear could be good. I kind of like Wall of Roots
more. It kind of doubles as mana acceleration and then later on a beat stick, which is why I like it.
I think it's the deck list is tight, and maybe the answer here is just to go mono green beatdown and just get rid of all the land destruction and run Werebears, and or maybe just play rock. I don't know. At some point, you start to blur the lines.
Yeah, mono green mid range beats.
Just
every 4/4 we can get it.
I did think about it, Nils, but I like Wall of Roots and the Elves package better because it enables you to do more, because the Werebear can't add mana the turn it comes into play, but Wall of Roots can.
Yeah. The Wall of Roots is like a double mana because you can use it on your turn and then use it to activate your courts in your opponent's upkeep.
Yeah.
Turn and then game 1 where you went turn 2 Wall of Roots, or turn 3 Wall of Roots, play an elf, and then tap down his land on his turn. Seemed like pretty great boost.
Yeah, it was really, really good. I really have liked it a lot. And some lists run Wall of Blossoms, but the Wall of Roots has just been so good for me that I absolutely wouldn't cut it in this list. And then the elves being 1 mana over the 2 mana of Werebear is also important, obviously, for the turn 2 land destruction spell. So it's a pretty tight number of cards that you have in terms of your flex slots. But this is just my first go at it, and like I've said, I think I was pretty lucky to get to the top 8. But I'm sure that there are ways you could make the deck better. I guess the last thing that I will add for people who want to play this is cards like Stunted Growth and Plow Under aren't that great unless you're running Ancient Tomb. So if that's the route you want to go, I think you do need to run Ancient Tombs. And the deck is pretty mana intensive in terms of using your mana for ports and for factories and wanting to get those 4-drops, on the table.
Yeah.
And so oftentimes you're not going to get to 5 mana as fast as you think you are, and you're going to be doing other things like applying more pressure. So that's why I decided not to go the Plow Under or Stunted Growth route, and it tended to work pretty well for me. Just kill a couple lands, play a Blastoderm, ride it to victory. Worked out fairly well in a lot of matches.
You don't have a lot of colorless pips on your spells. It's a lot of green 1 stuff.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. I think it's a different version of the deck if you wanted to go the 5 mana tempo spells for sure.
Flint chat was asking if you ever wanted a card like Call the Herd versus in the sideboard versus Control or other grindy decks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I thought about Call of the Herd as well, and it was actually in one of my earlier versions that I was putting together. I ended up not going that route, obviously, but I wanted to do the Beast thing. I just thought that four Balos, 4 Blastoderms was going to kind of hedge Sly versus Control. I'd have the life gain against the Sly decks with the Ravenous Balos. I'd have the non-targetable against your black removal spells and your white removal spells. That's how Rock wins against Sly a lot of the times is by landing Balos. And so I thought if I wanted to have a chance against the red deck, then I wanted the life gain, and it just synergizes so well with Balos, which is already so good. And then, if you don't cut the land destruction spells and you want your early acceleration, you run out of room pretty quickly to include a card like Call of the Herd. But, sure. I mean, I think that, there's probably a version of the deck where you can include it and try it out. I didn't test much with it. So, maybe it is really, really good against the control decks.
Now I kind of want to build an Ancient Tomb, City of Traders, Green Beatdown.
Yeah, do it.
You got the gears turning here.
Fair enough. If you ever want to talk deck lists, let me know. I love building decks.
Oh sure.
What decks did you face, Flint, in the group stage?
I didn't face a lot of the quote unquote tier 1 decks of the format. The only tier 1 deck that I faced was Goblins, and I got smashed 2-0 in one matchup against it. And then in the other, poor Vim got super unlucky. He smashed me game 1. Game 2, I got an early Masticore down and was able to control the board pretty well and barely kind of edge out a victory on the play. Game 3, he had to mulligan down to 5. And then he didn't have a play until turn 3 where he played a Goblin Matron. So it gave me enough time to develop my board, and he still almost beat me. It was still a super close game. But other than that, I played against 5-color Terrageddon and rode land destruction to victory in that one. It is. And I used wild. There was like a scenario where I think I opened with like a forest into a wild growth, into tapping into a wall of roots into an elf, and so I only had 1 land on the battlefield, but I still had enough mana to start destroying land, not destroying land, but start playing Blastoderms and Balos. I played against a red-black mid-range discard deck that was similar to the deck that Brian Menelakos won in his inaugural monthly many moons ago. What else did I play?
Yeah, I played against him as well.
Yeah. I played against a variety, but I didn't run into Sly. I didn't run into any other Landstill decks or Stasis or Mud or Elves or any of those prime decks. So yeah, and I won. Like I'm pretty sure every match I won 2-1. It was 2-1, and I almost always lost the first game. So if maybe land destruction, if you're thinking maybe I should play land destruction deck, I would caution you against that because I boarded a lot of it out in a lot of games and then won without it. So not all of it, but a lot of it.
You should play mono green beats instead, if that's what you're saying.
Maybe. I don't know what the right answer here is, but I will say Blastoderm is a good card when your opponent is stumbling, and I think most people would agree with me there.
Maybe you cast a land destruction spell game 1, and then in game 2 they kept like 6 lands, and they're just like, I'm going to beat Flint. His LD isn't going to do anything, and you're just like, guy.
Yeah. Blastoderm, Hiskradon, like all of these random beats. Calm down.
All right. BK, do you have any questions for the players?
Well, I'm working on this green deck right now. I got 8 elves, 4 Curse Scroll, 4 Call the Herd, 4 Bastard, and 4 Ravenous Baloth, 4 Plowlander. I think that's a skeleton. Then
Okay.
we're working on. No, I don't. Sorry.
All right. Well,
Nice.
thank you, players. We're going to wrap things up, so we'll let you go. Congratulations to Nils, and we'll see you advance to the
Congrats,
semifinals. We'll have to
Congrats,
figure
Nils.
out when
Thanks.
Good game.
when those can be streamed, but so we'll see you again. But yes, good job, Flint. Well done on the playing Ponza and getting to the top 8. So
Yeah.
Thank you.
Silencing the doubters and.
Sounds good. All right, guys. Take care.
You too.
bye. Okay, so let's wrap things up. BK, I want to take a moment to thank everyone who was able to tune in and watch, and thanks for the chatters for keeping things going while we did our shenanigans, especially when we're trying to be a Mercadian Mask Disenchanted guy. Thank you, BK, for once again joining me in the booth. Hope you enjoyed doing this coverage of the last couple of days. I'm glad to have you. So I will need to figure out when we are scheduling for the upcoming matches to continue on with this top 8. I have recorded the last quarterfinals, and that one will go up. So we have semifinals should be coming up soon. So we'll
What
figure
happened in
out.
the last quarterfinal?
I'm not going to reveal it. You'll have to.
Oh, okay. Oh.
It should be. I think I'll air it on Saturday, and then people can watch it. So.
Can't wait.
All right, but I have to wrap some things up in my personal life, so I'm going to have to end the stream. But thanks everyone for tuning in, and until next time, take care.